happen. Those auroras don't come down here, but it's been happening since Corona started. So it's one big ritual that we're going through. And of course, the coronation, like I said, with the Queen's death at the age of 96, those numbers, it was all inevitable. It was going to happen, it was bound to happen. So King Charles then was crowned at the age of 74, of course, because it all has to be done by the numbers. So Charles the usurper, sitting on the throne, he's not the first Charles III, we've already had Charles III, was born Prince Charles. And it's a big thing going on in the background right now. Personally, I think the throne's falling. Michell, we'll wait to see how that plays out. I think the crown's done. So Brian May, he was knighted in the month of May, of course. We were going for the coronation, Charles' coronation in the month of May. So Brian May was knighted from the band Queen, of all things. He was knighted 7 weeks, 4 days before May 6th. The 74-year-old King Charles was due to be coronated. Westminster Abbey, Brian May's been knighted 74 days before his next birthday on July 19th. And obviously all these numbers play out. And it was perfectly done the way they done it. It was just like so symbolic with the month of May coronation coming, Queen. Oh, it was really strange time to watch all those rituals play out. So this is on my home turf. This is Runcorn, where me and Tina are from. So Tina's the rally one at the front with the walking stick. She pretends she can't see. Anyway, so we've got the 74 feet and the 148 feet coded at Norton Priory. This is the monastery by me. Now they've got church foundations laid out in that cube in the cruciform formation that folds up into the cube as usual, and it's the usual dimensions. So when I've been trying to speak to the people at Norton Priory about this, and they have not got a clue what I'm talking about. So I don't hold much hope of doing anything with that piece of coding. But it was something that let me know that I was in the right place. Norton Priory Monastery is the one place that has a giant statue of St. Christopher as well, with Christ's child on his shoulders. That Christ child also says the 148 coding, as I can't go into all that today for you. So that was my home, that's my hometown, it's Runcorn, it's where I'm from, just outside of Liverpool. It's one of the old strongholds of the Knights Templar, very important. We've now got a pyramid bridge that represents, it's like a replication of the Great Pyramid of the 3 pyramids of Giza, and that was built by a Knight architect across the Mersey, which is the pillar of mercy, the 888 of Jesus. So that's got a sister bridge as well. It's got a twin bridge, a twin pyramid bridge, and that's up in Edinburgh, Scotland, the Queen's Ferry Bridge. We were both opened in 2017 as sister bridges. So again, we've got our twin symbolism going on with that. So this is, I was wondering whether John Michell had made some mistakes. I was trying to speak to a lady named Roma Hardman, some of you might know. I love Roma, she's brilliant. She's working very hard for me right now, trying to make some things happen for me and get opportunities that maybe we deserve after putting in so much work for the last few years. But what John Michell's put in the book is about King Guy, and he's talking about Glastonbury in this sense with 704. So when I started to look into this, John Michell studied it from another book, but it seems to be that other book was wrong. This coding seems to go back to Wells, not Glastonbury. So this King Guy, this year 704, is related into the year of Wells Cathedral. It's what it's actually relatable to, is the original foundations there. So I don't know whether it's just a little mistake in translations or whether this book has given out that piece of coding, but that number is relatable to Wells with King Guy and the year 704. So as you can see, the secular college was founded then in 704 with the see of the bishop in 909, and as I said, the Kaaba in Mecca is at 909 feet elevation, that 9 by 9 by 9 cube, and then the deanery was 1480. So Wells again was starting to appear, the coding was starting to appear there for me. So I went there with Max and Michael at the beginning of this year and started to look at a few certain things. And I was looking at the grid of patterns that are on the floor of the Lady Chapel in Wells Cathedral. And we were looking at it and we could see that 8-pointed star, knowing something's going to appear for us. And Max happened to point out this triangle that's at the bottom of the floor. So when I looked at it and started to have a little peek properly at it, I realised that this triangle, or pyramid, was pointing directly to that 8-pointed star. And we looked into the dimensions, and the dimensions started to appear for the Great Pyramid of Giza, the exact dimensions. So I started to think, why is that on the floor of Wells Cathedral? Of course, they weren't very happy to hear much of that information. So this is one of the next pages that John Michell's trying to give us the actual area and showing you the relationship of the macabre and how it's all relatable to the earth. So one of the numbers that's really features in my research is this 484. It's actually part of the heptaract. The heptaract is a hyperview, and it's what really forms this construct. So that piece of coding is very, very deep. I won't go into that too much today. But that 484 number really sparked me, so I've not come across it before in the dimensions. So when I read this in the book, it was really mind-opening for me. The 12 furlongs are the 790 feet, and this is New Jerusalem. This is what he was trying to show with the construction of the planets and how it all plays out, kind of thing. So the city of Wells then is what he was showing is 1 acre is equal to square yards, 4,840. And then we've got that times the 12 heights of Glastonbury, the 1,440 acres equals 6,969,600. So all these numbers are playing out in the City of Revelation as well. When you look into the City of Revelation, all these numbers are coded as New Jerusalem. Just so happens to be coded as the City of Wells as well. So one of the most important things that I realised with Wells is this number, is this 2.11. So London, of course, is 1.12 miles. I know them numbers very well because it's Jesus' geometry and I work with it a lot. One of the places that we really found those numbers is Palmer Cathedral. That's very, very important cathedral, Palmer. There is a light display that takes place at 33 degrees on the 33rd day of the year. It's a beautiful cathedral. It's a lot like Ruston Chapel, actually. And it's a rose window display, so when we're talking about Rosslyn and the rose cross, it's all very important. So this 2.11 and the 1.112, these numbers, you create 112, 121 and 211. When you add them together, equal 444. They're creating that cubic structure again. So this is just some of the maths involved with it. It's just the miles transferred to the yards, and the miles transferred to the feet. And it's all very, very specific coding that's appearing. Again, we've got the 148 numbers appearing with the code in it, and it's Christ. More importantly, what appeared for me is this one, what I was curious about, because it's the one that is coded at Glastonbury. It's that 51.84 degrees, it's just a permutation of that number. So again, these are some of the measurements that I've been having to break home to actually understand the construct of what John Michell was trying to show with its land. It's all about the land that was divided and how these measurements have been corrupted and who's took the land, who's owned what. Nobody knows these days. None of us know where we come from, what we owned or anything else. It's all been taken. So the City of Wells has the area of 2.11 square miles, Revelation 21:1, and it saw a new heaven and a new earth. The first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. So again, then Bible codes are going to play out, and it will play out specifically around Wells. So Wells started to become a little bit more important, and I thought I was keeping them separated as Wells and Glastonbury, but instead of just bringing them together, which is what I should have done early on, is realise that this was one big landscape and one big story playing out. So Glastonbury and Wells come together. So this is a very popular picture you know from Wells Cathedral, which is just the Jesus fish. That's all it is. It's the they call it the scissor arch, but it's Jesus fish from the Vesca. And of course, Jesus caught the 153 fish in the miraculous catch of fish. Or the first original temple of Solomon was constructed by 153,000 constructors. This is the geometry, this is the construction, and it's all coded at Wells. But why is it coded there? So one of the names that is associated with Wells that I found really interesting was tithes split furlong. So I had to look into the wording for it for the tithes. So the tithe means tenth, and of course furlong, so we have a tenth of a furlong. So what this actually was, it was just a little bit of an area that was, as you can see, it was granted, and it was by the Bishop Garden in 1245. So when you're breaking that open, then we start looking into furlongs and our old measurement systems, such as chambers and yards and everything else. We find one chamber is equal to 22 yards, one furlong is 220 yards. These numbers again then start to produce earth measurements, exactly the same again, and it's all the earth measurements. So this is what our ancestors were using. Now this is a fact, this isn't just me making it up, this is a fact. Our ancestors were using these numbers thousands of years ago, and we're still using them today, all being coded. So why aren't we being taught it? There's obviously people who have this information. It's not being taught to any single schools though, it's not being taught to our children, and it's valuable information that we need to reclaim. So we're in the process of just taking it back instead of asking. No more asking, we're taking back what belongs to us, kind of thing. So they're the old measurement systems. This is the reason John Michell had the antimetric system. He was fighting against losing all of this information. He didn't want it to become lost. Now this is Wells Cathedral. We're ready to start breaking it open. So this picture comes from a book by a guy named Tom Brace, and you might have been to maybe some of his talks. This book is Cosmos and Stone. That was absolutely brilliant. It's a brilliant book. It's agonising for somebody like me. I was speaking to Michael about this before. So I was reading it, and it's so much information missing from it. And it's, would you see them people and they're screaming at the telly and they're trying to get them in. I was screaming at the book, reading the book, and I'm like, what have you missed here, Tom? So he's not even put these numbers together, for example. If you ever put them together, it's the earth measure, it creates 7920. So it's a brilliant piece of work, as well as absolutely mind-blowing it, and it's a £25 book, as thick as anything. Go and get a copy of it, it's brilliant. But for me personally, it's an agonising read, and it's only because I feel like he's missed so much that we could have put together. But this is the whole point of the start to work as one. If you imagine the damage that we can do to this elitist society that is ruling over us at the minute, if we actually start working together. And we have got the answers collectively. We've got all the answers that we actually need. We've got all the things that we can do. We've got all the tools around us to live freely. But it's coming together is the hard part. It's something that we just never seem to do. And now this has been happening all the way from the tribes, from the Romans. The only reason the Celtic tribes fell is because they were infiltrated and couldn't get along. If they had to work together, Rome would have stood no chance on this island. And the same thing's happening again with the fall of Babylon now. Rome is Babylon, we're seeing the fall of Rome. But they're putting up a fight, of course, because they're all ways of falling. So this is what Tom Reed was working in micro units, is what he's working with. And this is what I was talking about with the 2520. It's an ancient measurement system. So that ancient measurement system is used in a lot of farmland. It's used in places like Stonehenge and that as well. Very important. Of course, these measurements that again show it's the 2,880. All these numbers will appear because it is that construct, and it's all earth measure. So the whole point of geometry is earth measure. So all these numbers are going to be the earth, but it will come together as we go forward. So this grid is what really sparked our minds, so Max and Michael, when we found it at the beginning of the year, and we actually realised what it was. It's a 12 by 12 grid, creating the 144 squares on the floor of Wells Cathedral. So now it'd actually be a pretty big coincidence for them to have all the earth measures coded inside it. Not just there, but we're inside the Lady Chapel. On top of that now, they've got a 144 square grid, which is the Revelation. So when you actually look at the picture that's on the floor of Wells Cathedral, it is the Revelation. And that's why what I'm trying to do today is try and break that open and try and share it with you to let you know that that is the Revelation. It is coded on the floor of Wells Cathedral, and it's for all to see, and you can't deny it. Because what we've now gone and done is gone and got all the measurements for it and realised what it was. So they can know, they can't hide it anymore. Whether they'll let me do the work there that it needs to do is another question. But they're definitely not hiding it anymore. So that's the grid for 144. We're looking at a representation of New Jerusalem, and it's at Wells Cathedral, which, as I said, is at 512 coordinates, which is the Sacred Heart, and we've gone through that code of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. So we've got lovely Max sitting down here, I'm going to glare up at the 8 points of stars. So this is the beginning of the year when we were there, we were trying to seek this code out. I didn't know half as much as I did, as I do now, about that piece of coding, so I decided to go and chase all the cathedrals and really visit them and get into it, get stuck into it. Now there's a really weird image in this. It's supposed to be a picture of Jesus, but what does he look like, Max? It looks like he's wearing a bikini. It's a really odd picture. It's like a woman with a beard, basically. So there's some real tampering going on in that cathedral and that ceiling. It's a bit odd. So this is what we come to now. I've only actually put this in my presentation last night, because I've only just found it yesterday. We went to Wells Cathedral yesterday morning, decided to get on the hands and knees with the tape measure out, getting a lot of funny looks from a lot of people, but it was worth it. So of course this is the greater aspect of that 8-pointed star, or the eight-spoke wheel of the Great Pyramid and so on and so forth, for the wheel of the year, or the eight-wheel compass rose. That's the most important thing, is that compass rose, is to understand that. So then what I wanted to do is why I wanted to go back before this presentation yesterday morning, because I knew what I was going to find, is because I've been finding it over cathedrals, and it made me click. I thought, right, I need to go back and know what it's going to be. So I thought, if we start measuring and it starts appearing, I know what it is. It's Revelation. It's New Jerusalem, told us all about it out. So that's what we done. We started to get the measurements for it. We started to go through the precise measurements. So this is just yesterday. So again, the basis, when you go into Wells Cathedral, the first thing you walk into is the octagon. Is when you look up, it's the octagon shape. So that's that structure of the 8 spokes that I was trying to show you before. Is this central 8 spokes that reaches out to the 16, 32, and the 64, 1, 2, 8, 2, 5, 6. That's creation kind of thing taking form. that's a fractal expansion, or cellular division, which is what Genesis is all about. Again, it's another huge piece of code that I can't really get into now. So I'll just put this one in so you can see that octagon shape a little bit better of the entire thing. So it's in an octagon, the entire thing's an octagon, but it's in a larger octagon with a smaller. So this is what we wanted to go and get. We wanted to go and get the coding for this. So that's what we did. So when I measured it yesterday, the outer octagon is 888 centimetres, the inner octagon is 792 centimetres. That's perfect. Each tile in the grid is 6 by 6 inches. So 6 by 6 equals 36. So we've got 12 tiles of 6 inches equals 72 inches. And you'll recognise all these numbers from the presentation. It just is what it is. So a square with the sides of 72 inches has a perimeter of 288 inches. The square grid of 144 squares, 72 inches in total, has an area of 5,184 inches, which means that they've depicted Glastonbury Tor on the floor of Wells Cathedral, and it's undeniable as well, because it's all there. The entire coding is there for all to see, and it's real. There's no theory about it. New Jerusalem, the Temple of Jerusalem, is coded at Wells Cathedral in a very, very big way as well. This is a very important piece of coding. So as I say, is it from Giza or is it from Glastonbury Tor? Personally, I have the feeling that Glastonbury Tor was there first. So I feel like that the coding has come from that, and I feel like the Tor is natural because the natural creation shows this being created through the mound, as I said, from the primordial waters. That is creation taking form. So I believe Glastonbury Tor was standing first. I believe that was done first, and that's where the true coding of the angle of light and so on and so forth has started to come together. But anyway, yeah, the octagon, it's all very specific, and we went to get that coding just yesterday, knowing that if that appeared, I knew exactly what it was. I already had it in my mind that it was Revelation being shown anyway, thanks to all the other work I was doing. So what this coding actually is, it's a constant of light, is what it is. And the same thing's called at Avery as well. And it's all to do with like the piezoelectric currents and things that play out in the stones. But these are the harmonics of light, basically. So it's one of the constants, and we'll have the usual numbers like the 108, as we said with the sun's salutations, the sun's diameter. These numbers will of course form of the light coding. So it's the light that's refracting through the crystal, as we went to earlier on. It's that light refracting through the crystal. So mortal man, when John Michell was talking, he's not just talking about, I tend to go more into the stories of Earth, but he's talking about us as well. So the temple of man, these temples, a lot of them are designed in our structure. This is why Da Vinci shows the Vitruvian Man. That's why he used that, is because it's the temple of man. And these temples are built on the macro to micro kind of scale. So we're representative of Earth. That's why we're so connected with Earth, is because we're representative of Earth. We're all little Earths in ourselves, kind of thing. All little torus fields of energy and heart pumping, all the rest of it. So the mortal man, it's really what this coding was brought forward on. So the Great Pyramid of Giza is 481 feet, or was originally 481 feet, with the sides of the pyramid being 756 feet. So what you'll notice with this coding, as I said, Giza was cased in 144,000 casing stones. So we've got the 144. Giza is 756 feet at the base, four sides. Again, it's all this harmonic coding of light. And that's Giza, it's a crystal. It's showing you the creation taking form. So that is Giza's coding, it's there. That's a factual an equation for the harmonics of light, and it's the exact coding of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Again, that's a fact, it's not a theory, it's a fact. And all the information coming is going to be factual. So a lot of people talk about, oh, it's at the speed of light, but obviously if you search Giza, they're not going to give you them speed of light coordinates. But if you actually get it up on the grid map, you're going to land precisely at Khufu's pyramid, and it's up to 299792458. Now with the speed of light, you have a little clue to how they're using the light, and it's with this again, 792. But Earth's diameter again in the speed of light. It has to be this way, because of course light is entering this construct. So yeah, so Giza is actually at the speed of light. So that's obviously one of the very first theories that people had about the Great Pyramid of Giza. How could it possibly be perfectly a line for the speed of light with north, south, east, west curve. But obviously we've got a lot deeper coding now, so we can actually start to see why they've done it and what it's all based on. So yeah, so Giza's there, it is at the speed of light coordinates. So the New Jerusalem, Glastonbury Abbey, Knights Templar and King Arthur are very important to actually understand the allegory and symbolism that's surrounding it. So the book of Revelation is 22 chapters, 404 verses, as I said, the 44 earlier on, and it's the 66th book of the Bible. So Revelation plays out, we've got the 211 for the Wells, the 1841 and the 119. So Revelation 1911 is partly why I asked Rosie to come today and honour us with Pegasus all around the walls. Of course, it's the white horse of Revelation. So thank you to Rosie for doing that for me today. Actually, she's done it yesterday, without me even prompting her to do so. She was here working away and getting it all done, so thank you very much. So the white horse of Revelation. Then I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse. The one sitting on it is called Faithful and True, and in righteousness it judges and makes war. So of course, it's for 9/11. I mentioned these numbers before. We had the Twin Towers, 9/11 date, or I mentioned with the Knights Templar, they were founded in the year 1119, which is the sun and the sun. So Revelation 19:11 is putting us somewhere, taking us to that New Jerusalem. New Jerusalem as an area of 1911. 447 is the 744 again. It's all coming back around. So this is the area of New Jerusalem of what they've measured from all the fair-long measurements and everything else. The 191 or 1911 is the area. So this is just a little bit about the Templars with the 1119 year. March 22nd, 2020 is the year we went into full lockdown here. The day we went into full lockdown. That was the day I was arrested as well. It's the 223 date. I was arrested 223 years to the day that I got the coat of arms. So all these numbers started playing out. But that was the day the Templars were abolished. Anyway, so it was a very important date, and that was the day that we went into lockdown. So for me personally, I've said that Templars never went anywhere. The original banking systems, and a lot of this trouble starts at the beginning of 2019 was also to do with the banking systems and things crashing and credits and everything else. And there was a big important move that was made by the Medici family. The Medici family released their new bank franchise known as the Challenger Bank. They said they're coming to challenge all the other big corporations that have been taken over. The Medicis are from Florence. People who know the Medici family very much, very well linked to Leonardo da Vinci. But the thing is with the Medicis is they were botanists, very much in love with nature, so was Leonardo da Vinci actually. But they were alchemists as well, because they understood the botany and they understood all this type of thing within nature. It was perfectly done for them. So King Arthur's tomb then, speculation for Arthur's tomb at Glastonbury Abbey, 1911 or 1191 for Arthur's tomb was the year that they would find this. So this is just one of the older pieces that I found, was firstly Mason's sculpture, and it was just to do with basically this, the exhumation of Arthur. So they exhumed Arthur's tomb apparently in 1191. This date comes 7 years after the Knights Templar had arrived in London at Temple Church. They moved from Temple Mount to Temple Church in 1184. And 1184 is the year of Glastonbury Abbey fire, of course. So this is the coding of the Knights Templar. The Templars are definitely the ones who were responsible for these codings coming through for like the octagon coding, and it's because they have the coding of Alchem. And Alchem is the old names of Egypt, which is alchemy. That's where alchemy comes from. It's the old black lands of Egypt. And people claim the black lands of Egypt is because of the skin colour. It's definitely not. It's because of the soil. It's because of the carbon atom, or the black matter, dark matter, so on and so forth. So yeah, this is the story that played out anyway. It was 1191, and it's the Templars year. It's the number that they worked with, and as I just mentioned, 1184 then was the year they transferred the quarters, the headquarters for the new temple, and 1184 would be the same year that Glastonbury Abbey suffered the fire. 7 years then, from that date, King Arthur's tomb would be exhumed, and the story would be created of King Arthur in the physical form, much like Jesus Christ's story in the physical form was created. It is what it is. It's a story. It's a fairy tale. It's a nice one, but it is what it is. So, May 25th, 1184, Glastonbury Abbey fire. 2,520 days later, Arthur's tomb was exhumed. So as I said throughout this talk, we'll have that 252. It's one of the builders' numbers. templars are builders, they're architects, that's what they are. That's why we've got all this octagon coding inside. All these churches and cathedrals is where it stems from. The Knights Templar are the original stonemasons. So I just wanted to make sure that you understand this 252 and where it comes from. It is the Royal Egyptian cubit. It does come from all these old places. It's a sacred cubic measure. It comes from Hebrew, it comes from all different cultures, and that 252 is definitely not a coincidence. So when that pattern's played out between the 5 and between Arthur's tomb being exhumed, it's all done in a very, very specific manner. And it's also had this code in a precise format. So this is the Sarsen Circle, Stonehenge, and it was just again to give you the 252, just to show you that the 252 is the 252 megalithic yards. This was all used. It's used in all of the structures. So you can actually use all of this code to give advantage, and you can use it all over the place. You can go to every stone circle you ever visit, or every cathedral. You can use this to break it open. It's all there. You've just got to understand that those sacred measurements have travelled through to today. So one of my sacred measurements that I understood very early on was from the Mona Lisa. Mona Lisa is 77 centimetres or 2.52 feet. It just so happens to be the exact same coding of Karnak Temple, and exactly the same coding as Karnak. So of course Karnak Temple with the 252 feet and 77 metres. What I found really interesting of Karnak Temple though was the 393 feet. Now that is one of our very old system of measurements. So the 393 feet with Karnak Temple, they've got 120 pillars that are 33 feet in height and 12 that are 69 feet in height, which equals the 288 number, 828. So the Karnak Temple, they've got all these numbers coded in it, and again with the 33 feet is equal to the 1584. It's all harmonics that we've already talked about, the air frequencies and the resonance. The UN symbol of the world is cut into 33 segments. It's showing 792 hours, and how it reflects in our daytime and in our cycles. So another place where we find a 393 column is Silby Hill. So Silby Hill is 39.3 metres in height, 1 metre is 39.3 inches. So this column is at Karnak Temple, it's at Silby Hill. It's used in our measurement system today. It's definitely done very specifically for a reason. Silby Hill is something, I wanted to use this picture in particular because a lot of people talk about Silby being flooded. Is it natural? I think it's natural myself, because even without this grass mound on top, you've got the story of creation with the chalk base of Silby Hill. It's still that tower taking form, it's still a pyramid, it's the same thing as the step pyramid. So again, this is creation, and when you look at it on the mound, the most basic form of that mound in creation is of course in the stomach of all females when they're pregnant. That's the original mound, that's in the waters, it's primordial, your primordial being, sacred mothers. So that for me that's what Silby Hill is for me, that's what I think it is. I think especially when you see it from a bird's eye view and you start to really consider what they would have been trying to show. It's a story of creation, and it's especially around Avebury and around them areas, it seems to be in balance with the sacred feminine. So the city of New Jerusalem, 12,000 furlongs, it's approximately 1,500.3 miles, so that's giving us that best curve of the 153 again. So again, these measurements are all coming back around into the Temple of Man, story of creation, the geometry of mathematics and architecture. But what that does equal is the 792.158.4 feet, and this starts coming back around when you see these numbers start playing out. So what John Michell was breaking open, they give a basic a whole number of the 7,920. This is actually what it does come down to, is the 792.1584. And what's that showing is Earth's diameter and Earth's inner core, which is Earth's magnetic inner core. It's what plays the biggest role. So Earth's magnetics is the torus field of energy, comes to the surface through the law of currents. That's where we've got these power points, such as class we talk. It's the law of currents that are coming up through the Earth. That's what it is. That's what the star of symbolism and a lot of it's about as well. Earth's magnetic movements. So I touched on this a little bit before. It was the Jesus visions, because I wanted to come back around to the Vesica. This is very important. So the Vesica ratio is 153 width with 265 height equals 418. Of course, this number is where I'm about to start taking it now, and I said it is the revelation. It opens it up. It's a number that I got from Leonardo to actually try and figure it out. So the best kit is 418, that's what the dimensions equal. Then we have a Bible code of Matthew 418 in the Bible. This is when he first encounters his disciples, and obviously the clue in disciples is the disc. You've got the disciples of the sky clock as usual, that's the sky disc with the sun disc. So yeah, Matthew 4:18, this is the start of the Vesica coding in the Bible. Now when you read these passages in the Bible, it's so specifically coded. But they're showing the fish, the pattern of the fish, the miraculous catch of the 150 fishes, 153 fish where it leads to. So another person who used this 418 code was asked the crowd who understood the importance of that Vesica, and understood exactly which way it was supposed to go and what it was used for. He was using it in magic, basically his spirit being manifested, and that's what he was using as the main tool of manifestations. I know this because Da Vinci used it with the Mona Lisa. It's one of the early codings I got from the Mona Lisa. You look along the trim of her dress, she has Vesica Pisces symbols along the dress, and she was created in 1503. It's what Da Vinci was trying to show us, this sacred piece of geometry, and it's the most sacred piece of geometry. And the reason is this, so I talked about cell division earlier on. This is cell division, it's creation. So we start off as the monad, or the mona, the whole, the unified force. So the unified force is the one which breaks off into the two and creates the Vesica. So of course that's man and woman, or the two pillars, it's the polarized energy. And in between that is of course, the equilibrium or the gateway. The Vesica symbolism, it creates the lens of light. From there we go into the three circles which would create the triquetra, which create the RGB code, and we go into 4, 5, and we end up with the flower of life, or the egg of life. And of course this basically transfers through, that's where we start with Metron's cube, Michael. And that's what it's all about, it's creation. It's why we start in the book of Genesis in the Bible. It's the book of genes, it's our genetic makeup, it's the genetic construct of this material world. So the Kaaba, and this is very important to understand, Earth diameter 791 miles divided by pi equals 2521. The Kaaba is at them exact coordinates. Right? The first mention of the Kaaba is in Quran 2125. More importantly, Salvador Dali creates the painting type Corpus Hypercubus. Now, Corpus Hypercubus has got the exact same coding as Mecca. I loved it when I found that, because it's undeniable, because it's also coded with the Qibla, and it's a very important, very specific coding. Now, for the house of God to be mentioned for the first time in the Quran at the exact same dimensions, what Earth's being divided by pi, the cycle of pi, which is the circle, basically, it's the life of pi. The Life of Pi book was actually released on the day the Twin Towers come down, so that's a big signal to the life of Pi that we're living. So in the movie Pi Patel, or in the book, Pi Patel was stuck at sea for 227 days. That is the 22 over 7, the fraction of pi, one of the fractions of pi. So, yeah, so these are the dimensions, and there's something that Darwin was doing, that he's depicting the hypercube, he's depicting the cube, and he's done it in a brilliant way. Now, Ezra's doing some work on Salvador Dali, so I'll try to stay away from it a little bit, because Ezra's going to be brilliant. When he actually gets this booked out, it's going to be a brilliant piece of work. So I'm excited for what Ezra brings forward with that coding. But he has coded the Kaaba, he's coded the Kaaba in Mecca, and it's with this image, what he's showing. He's even using the colours of the Kaaba to actually depict it, and he's showing Jesus on the cross of hypercubes. Now, for all sorts of symbolic reasons that we've already tried to cover in this, but the most precious one for me are these churches, the churches of Babylon, that are really starting to fall. But they're not going to fall with that, they're going to fall with the truth. These churches were built for us, they're built with harmonic resonance that actually should be harnessed, we should be using it. They're absolutely beautiful designs, beautiful architecture, they're not bad buildings, they're not by any stretch of it. So this is what Harley was showing anyway, it's the hypercube. So before I mentioned the heptaroct, it's one of the hypercube codings from Leonardo da Vinci's work. That's why I always knew Metatron was going to be so important. So yeah, Darley went and shown us it, went and gave it to us. But this piece of code in particular, it's one that can't be denied by absolutely anyone. It's so set in stone. It's a bit like blasphemy Torah and the coordinates and things, it's all set. This is all fact. There's nothing else that can be manipulated with it. So New Jerusalem in the 418. This is the New Jerusalem, this is the number that's going to break it open. William Blake in New Jerusalem, he published in 1808, but the actual work he was signed it in 1804. Now that number is a reason that he's using that number, and it is for this period of time. Now it's a number that I've managed to collect from Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa. It's 77 centimetres times 53 centimetres equals 4081. So when I knew that was coded, that for me essentially was the so-called Da Vinci Code, which isn't Da Vinci Code at all. It's the Creator's Code, it's the Code of Creation. So Da Vinci's born on April 15th, the day the Titanic went down and all these major events in the world. But he's born on the 105th day of the year, and the great architect of the universe was 105 in Chaldean gematria. That's very important. Great architect is why all this geometry is playing out. It's why we see the G in the Freemasonry symbol. People will talk about it's God, it's this and it's that, or geometry. Personally, I think it's the frequency, which is musical note G. The reason I think that is because musical note G contains 7.83 Hz, which is Earth's human resonance. I think that's what's probably the big factor for them. So 1804 and the New Jerusalem, William Blake. A lot of people are trying to make claims that Edinburgh is the New Jerusalem and all this and that. As we can see, it's all Earth measure. We're talking about Earth. Same as we talk about the Garden of Eden, we're talking about Earth as a whole. It's one big garden. All these borders and bullshit that we've created, it's all fake. It's just names that we put to it all. And try to divide us with borders, basically. Keep us apart. So the next piece of work is Jerusalem. This was based on William Blake's poem, but it was written by Hubert Parry. Of course, 27th of February 1848, Hubert Parry was always going to have the 148 in his code as well. The Parry family are very important. They're actually architects themselves. A lot of the cathedrals that I've gone to all the time, we found a lot of Hubert Parry's work, or his sons, or his fathers. So it's a generation of architects is what they are. So they understand New Jerusalem. So when he's done this, he's definitely had an understanding of it. I think probably, again, William Blake most definitely had an understanding of it. That 1804 number shows it for me. So yeah, 27th of February as well, to give me grandma died on, so it's an important day that really stood out for me. So Jerusalem, there's Hubert Parry and William Blake, they both calling their numbers. So as we said before, with the old city of Jerusalem and the Arcs and Mosque Canal was all there. So the World Trade Center, its own zip code, the zip code is 10048. And of course, the old city of Jerusalem is a World Heritage Site, and it's under the dossier 148 Rev, 148 Revelation. So it's there, it's the code for it, and I knew it was going to be the code for the Revelation. So it was one that I really started to focus on, really honing on. As you can see with the Twin Towers, as I said before, with the 74 times 2 equals to 748. But then the September 11 attacks also, they started at 8:14 AM. Or there was 184 people that died at the Pentagon. The Pentagon is 77 feet, 3.5 inches. It's Mona Lisa's coding. Mona Lisa's 77 times 53. Pentagon is Mona's coding. It's the 5 points of the Seal of Solomon. Is where it is. Solomon's temple. So these are the 148 numbers. It's coded that Jerusalem's called the World Trade Center, which, as I said before, it was brought down with the lease to the Salomon brothers. Again, Solomon's temple, it's all allegory, all very symbolic. Giza itself, 481 feet. Glastonbury Tor is the one place, as I said before, with the Isle of Man has 11 days of sunrise at 4:44. Glastonbury Tor has 11 days of sunrise just after the winter solstice, just after Christmas Day actually, and the sunrise takes place at 8:14 AM for 11 days. And it's such a crucial, we were up there on our own last year, I think it was only 2 of us up there last year for this land, but people aren't aware of the land. People are focusing on the winter solstice, which is of course a reality. The fact is that this sun stands still in opposition for 11 days, and this is an alignment our ancestors would have definitely honoured, without a doubt. So if you can't make it up to Glastonbury Tor this year, we have it from December 26th right the way through to January 5th. Now you'll know that might be important because January 5th is the date that the Holy Thorn is supposed to blossom in Glastonbury. So it's the original Christmas day. It took 11 days from us. This is the 11 days they stole from our calendar, and this is why they've stole them 11 days. It's because they know what we can find when we get back to our old cycles, when we're using the cycle of the moon, or we're using these real cycles of solstice periods that always come to light. The other solstice period is 11 days at 4:44 AM. That takes place in the summer solstice. This is the winter. It's all the same. So then 11 days, what is is what they've stolen from us. So if you can, do make it up there for that. So this is why this is appearing. It's always sun related. So the sun is at a distance of 148 million kilometres for certain points of the year. Other times it's at 147 kilometres per year. So this is important. It's because the Kaaba cube in Mecca, it has a 90-degree angle where the sun directly aligns over the Kaaba cube, and it happens on the 147th day and the 148th day of the year, March 27th and 28th. So again, when I was talking about the axis as well, and the Arctic Circle, the 66.6 degrees, if you minus 51.8, which is the elevation of the tour, by the way, it's 518 feet in elevation. And you take that away, you end up with 14.8 of the sun. So this is the code, and they would have actually understood, because it's architecture, it's degrees and angles at the end of the day. This picture comes from the Megalithmania event. They took this of the sun rolling up the side of the tour, so you'll be aware that this happens to pyramids in Mexico as well. They have perfect sunlight that goes up the side of the tour. So this is where you get to see how very specific it is when it's at those precise coordinates. It's all to do with architecture. So the arc of the sun that it takes over the sky in the daytime, that's the real architecture. That's the true architecture of it, and that's what everything's based on. Again, it's all cycles, where we started this presentation, the cycles time. So Rosslyn Chapel then as well, one of the other sacred sites that are very well connected to the Templars. Now, I've just done a talk in Rosslyn on August the 12th. Went quite well. I was surprised by the letters in there with the information that we revealed on Freemasonry and things like that day. But it went very well, and we've got a good relationship now with Rosslyn Chapel now. They're actually listening to the work that we're putting forward. They're seeing that it's genuine, it's not about some fake Da Vinci code or anything else. It's real, it's happening. So Rosslyn then, they come to December 21st, December 22nd, Rosslyn Chapel has the 8:41 AM sunrise. So it's the Templars, it's a Templar code, by the way, is what this is, it's a Templar code. So you can find this in every location where the Templars have laid the foundations in certain ways. Revelation 14:8. The second angel followed, saying, Fallen is Babylon the Great, who has made all the nations drink the wine of the passion of her immortality, or emeralds, sorry. Revelation 14:8. Again, Bible codes, pay attention to the Bible codes. So this is what's known in York Minster, it's known as the apocalypse window. So the apocalypse is the revelation, it's the apocalypse in the mind, it's the revelation of information starting to come to light. And it's depicted in York Minster. So as I say, they're waiting for this moment in time. They've known this time's going to come. They know that people are going to be enlightened at some period of time. Now, we've always had ages of enlightenment. This one's just a big one. It's a great cycle, is what we're looking at. And we're going into the age of Aquarius now. People have been seeing that gradually take place, but we do have an end time when that cycle's going to switch, and it's approaching. So the Great Window then, the Apocalypse Window, it was created between 1405 and 1408, because of course it's Christos, so it's the number of the Revelation. The 148, if you follow it, you'll find it, and it's always there, it's always to do with this Revelation, it's always to do with the Apocalypse, and it's the Great East Window. They depicted it. So I just wanted to go back to this just for a minute, because it comes back around when we look at the devices white horse. So the white horse Revelation, many white horses in Great Britain, except for this one's very, very important. And that's because of the dimensions, and it's because they've done it at 148 feet. So it's the Revelation, it's exactly the same as everything else, it's exactly the same as the Kaaba. This is the Revelation, it's the white horse of Revelation. It's what they're showing. But there was something that I knew that I could find with this, and I was going to use John Michell's work to back it up. Bless him. He's a genius of what he wants to put together. So this is the dimensions for the devices white horse. 150 feet and 148 feet come out of these dimensions. We get this mathematics from it, 31968. So you might know that number with the 3168 digits. John Michell actually included the 31968. He coded it as the dimensions of the 12 outer walls. So the devices white horse has got Christos coded in it, but on top of that it's got the exact dimensions at the 12 outer walls of New Jerusalem. And what are the chances, when we're looking at the white horse of Revelation, what are the chances of that actually being coded there? Very, very slim. So of course these are the dimensions that I mentioned with Wells before, the 2.11 miles. Came up at this number, this is what John Michell's shown for New Jerusalem. It's all there. New Jerusalem is fully coded between Wells and Glastonbury. So John Michell wasn't wrong, and now we can prove it, which something really quite special, really. So when I mentioned Roma Harden before, Ezra spoke about a book with Blair Bonds, Gematria. Roma's asked me to let you know that if you are seeking this lost knowledge and you do want to go and get it, there's some of them books are still available. So there's a book available, the Blair Bond book on Gematria is available. You can get in touch with Roma Harden on my Facebook page. She is working with Rilco, and they're supplying these books still and trying their best to keep this knowledge alive. So we can support them, they support us at the end of it. And this is what John Michell found. This is what he was trying to keep alive desperately. So yeah, Wells is perfectly coded with all the dimensions of the New Jerusalem. So then we get the 31968 inches equals 888 yards, and Jesus' numbers applying all the time. So it's definitely not, it's not a coincidence, because we've just measured Wells with the octagon, and that was 888 centimetres. So of course we've got the yards with the area playing out with the device of white horse. So it's this coding of Jesus Christ, and it comes down to this, it's the triangle basically that, two triangles coming together, creating that pyramid at the right angle and so on and so forth. It's all that coding, gematria is geometry. So that's Jesus' gematria. 888, 1184 and 1480 in gematria terms, it actually spells out you have known Jesus Christos. That's what that spells out in Greek. So Lord Jesus Christ, I thought I'd actually show you that it's not just English gematria, because people tend to say this is corrupt, but the basis of gematria is alphanumerics, and that's what people tend to forget. It's alphanumerics. Alphabet comes from Hebrew, aleph and bet, and so on and so forth. This is where it all comes from. So Jesus in gematria as well, this is both Lord Jesus Christ. So in Greek it equals to 3168, which is the dimensions that we talk about with the New Jerusalem, and Lord Jesus Christ in Hebrew brings out the 148. Now there's a slight variation to that 148, which got missed out of this, but Jesus Christ equals 792 as well in Hebrew. So they're all the earth measure that they were using. But it's basically, it is earth measure, and that's what we're going to look at right now, is the earth measure. So those numbers that appeared, the 13168, or the 3168, it's Earth's mass. And then we've got the volume, or the water. More importantly, we've got the land mass, 148 million kilometres. It's Jesus. So we're talking about geometry and earth measure. This is what it is, and it's proven. It's there. So all these numbers are there. But then this is musical note B8, B9, B10. All earth frequencies, every single one of them. So it's all there. It's all there for us to find now. We can actually break it open if we actually focus on it and start getting those answers together, as I said. So it's earth measure, that's the truth of geometry, it's the truth of gematria. If you see people and they're using gematria online and they're putting all these numbers, it's falsified, and it's because they're not using any source of geometry to actually explain it, to show a construct. That's where it was based on, that's why it's a school of science, it's an ancient science. We can't just suddenly get hold of it and go, well, we're going to do what we want with it. It is what it is, it's a school of science that's been used for thousands of years. So this is page 53, John Michell's book of City Revelation, talking about the 12 nights of blasting that are recorded in the Doomsday Book of 1084 in accordance with its ancient privilege. This land was neither surveyed nor taxed. Well, 1084 is not the date of the Doomsday Book. It's wrong year. It's 1086. So why does he put 1084 in the book? Because John Michell would never, ever make that mistake in the City of Revelation. Every single number that's in this book is so precisely done. Except for the one number that is Christos, that is coded. So it's the 1084 number of Christ. Now I spoke to Roma, I asked Roma her opinion because she knew John Michell so well, like some of you may have. And Roma's most obvious thing was that it could just be a mistake in the book. But you're telling me somebody like John Michell's got no of the numbers wrong in this book. He would have had this proofread, he would have had people reading it, how many people, and he's got that number right. Just the one that I'm actually looking at now for the Revelation, the one that's appeared in the device white horse. This has been done intentionally. John Michell has done that intentionally, without a doubt. And it's shown us something. I believe it's shown us something. I believe it's leading us somewhere. And I believe it's leading us right the way back to where it actually started. Worcester Cathedral, which was founded in 1084, which has the zodiac hidden on the floor. And it's got the exact coding, but there's something very important about Worcester Cathedral. It's at the tomb of King John, that's where the zodiac is, it's at the base of King John. So you have King John facing the altar, but then even more importantly to the right, you've got Prince Arthur. So you've got Arthur and the zodiac. Now I'm wondering, why is that 1084 number coming up? John Michell's book, City of Revelation. It just happens to be the one number that, you know, Da Vinci's code in the Mona Lisa, one number in the Device of White Horse, one number in the code of the Wells, the Kaaba in Mecca, everything else. John Michell's code is something in the book, and it's something that people have missed, but it's maybe something that it was meant to be found now. It's at this time. It was for one person to maybe find it as focused in on this code that could recognise this number when reading that book. Because I don't know how many people would have flicked through this book and thought, that's not the right year. Of course it's not, and he knew it as well. It's not something that Jean Michel would not have been aware of, he would have known it. So that's a coding. It's a very important piece of coding that he's left us. So Arthur and the Round Table, as I said, it takes us back to Worcester Cathedral, which is where King John is. The zodiac, which is covered with carpet as well. They don't want us to see that right at the side of Arthur's tomb. We've got a story in itself starting to play out what's going on there. So here's the zodiac. We're right back around to where we started, which is the Glastonbury zodiac. It's what it's all about. It's the cycles of time, the cycles of nature and summer and winter and so on and so forth. So this is where it is. So this is the tomb of Arthur. So just to the left of that, we've got Prince Arthur, and then we've got the zodiac. Just a little bit further back is King John. King John is where a lot of my coding started to come into play, and started to think about King John and what John Michell was trying to actually talk about. But he's talking about land. We're talking about land mass. So what was King John known as? Lackland. That's who he was. King John Lackland. He lacked the lands. It was all taken from him. So then I'm starting to wonder about what is he trying to actually give us? What is he trying to show us? And is there something there? So of course we come back around to our tourist and the great bird in the sky, which is Arthur. It's the original Arthur, it's the original story playing out above. And then we've got King John's too. King John was very important for one reason, Magna Carta. Very, very important detail that people seem to write off a lot, but except it's called the Great Charter of Freedoms for a reason. 15th of June 1215 is when King John signed the Magna Carta. 15th of June is also the date of Mona Lisa. It's Leonardo da Vinci's code. 15th of June is the 166th day of the year, with 199 days remaining. King John became king in 1199, he was born in 1166. King John's got the exact same code as the Mona Lisa and the Magna Carta, except for King John was beforehand. So, what's Da Vinci learned from it? Is he trying to show something? Is Da Vinci using the same 4081 code to show Worcester Cathedral, as John Michell is trying to show us the City of Revelation? Are they trying to give us that code to go and get it? Are they giving us the Revelation? Are they giving us the New Jerusalem? Has Da Vinci done the same thing with his New Jerusalem? Has John Michell picked up the same thing in the City of Revelation? Which I believe they have. And that one number that comes up is that 4081, or the 1084 from Worcester Cathedral, or the 1084, which is a clear mistake in City of Revelation. So that number is, the revelation for me is the Christ, and it's the number that I'm going to bring forward and prove everything that I've just shared with you today. So yeah, it's the Charter of Freedoms. It is what it is. King John of England, he founded my home city, founded Liverpool. Founded Liverpool on 28th of August 1207, the day I would be born, 1986. Liverpool was founded on the same day I would be born. So he founded that, but then there's something important about Liverpool that I knew very, very early on in my research, but I just didn't understand it. And then it started to click when I started to find all this. Liverpool had the key that was staring me in the face. Liverpool's got the scroll that's held by the bird, it's held by the live birds. On the scroll is depicted the letters Johis, Johis. It's the scroll of John. So Liverpool have got the scroll of Revelation hidden on their symbol, on their coat of arms. So King John founded Liverpool on the 288 date of August 28th, which just happens to be the exact dimensions of New Jerusalem and the perimeters of Giza and the perimeters of the Mona Lisa, which weighs 288 ounces. So all this code is exactly the same from Da Vinci, from John Michell. It's all there, it's all the exact same coding. And it comes down, as I just said, with these numbers. So King John, 1199, he was born on 1166. 166 and 199 is the June 15th of the Magna Carta and the Mona Lisa. He's shown that polarity as always, the 6-9 polarity as well. But what that coding really is, the 166, is tetragrammaton equals 166, meaning so I don't know if it's God's number. 166, they say in the Bible, they say it's the number of the They like to call it 666, but if you look at Papyrus 115, I think it is, the number of the beast is actually 616, and it's because of the so yeah, King John's got the coding for some reason, and it's that coding, that exact coding of the 4081 and the Worcester Cathedral in 1084. So I'm going to leave you to wrap your head around that and see what you think of those codings. As I said, those codings are all fact, not one bit it's made up. John Michell's coded that, City of Revelation. Why? It's more famous why. So it's time for it. So that's the City of Revelation. Thank you for listening.